To begin with, we will have Sarah Gordon present the first part of the webinar on financial capability and financial access basics. And then I will talk about FinCapDev itself, an overview of the competition, and also some key facts that will help you understand what we're trying to do, how you can enter key timelines, and other items. After the overview, I will begin the Q&A session by reading out some predefined questions and answers as sort of an FAQ, if you will, that will help enhance the information that I would have presented in the overview. And then we will open up the Q&A section to the questions that you will be sending through the webinar tool in the box that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to now hand the floor to Sarah to take us through the first part of the webinar, financial capability and financial access basics.
Excellent. Thank you, Preeti. Good evening, everyone. This is Sarah Gordon, the Vice President of Advisory Services and Nonprofit Investments here at the Center for Financial Services Innovation. CFSI is a proud partner and one of the co-administrators of the FinCapDev Challenge. It's a pleasure to be with you all, and hope that this webinar will be valuable to all of you. So I wanted to start us off by sort of stepping through some background context around financial capability and financial access and what we know about sort of mobile financial services to date to really build a case and to make an argument for why developers and engineers and teams should apply to our challenge to really work to improve the mobile apps that are available to help improve consumer financial capability and access. So let's start by defining or framing the problem that we're really trying to solve for. The current financial profile of American consumers suggests that we're really struggling financially. 49% report that they have difficulty covering monthly expenses. 56% don't use a budget to guide their spending. 33% of Americans have no non-retirement savings. 66% are not comparison shopping when searching for financial products. And 44% of Americans gave themselves a grade of C, D, or F in terms of their financial knowledge. So overall, we're really missing the mark on managing our financial lives, and this can have some pretty serious implications, particularly for low and moderate income households, where exercising good financial behavior can be critical to gaining stability and weathering unexpected financial shocks. So to add to that, many Americans lack access to high-quality financial products and services. Approximately 34 million U.S. households, or 28% of all households, are financially underserved, meaning that they are either unbanked or underbanked. And of these, 9.9 million, or 8% of all households, are unbanked. These are numbers from the most recent FDIC national study of underbanked households. The last time the survey was conducted in 2009, only 7.6% of households were unbanked. So this, between 2009 and 2011, there's an increase of an additional 821,000 households. So we're really at the highest point ever. Over 1/4 of households, or 68 million U.S. adults, are financially underserved. There are also sort of underbanked households, and that essentially means that households may have a checking or savings account, but they're still turning to alternative financial service providers to meet their financial services needs. So we have both sort of a financial capability problem. Folks are having, are really in poor financial health, and they also lack access to the tools and the products that could maybe help move them forward. So as it relates to this mobile apps competition, I think it's important as a backdrop to talk about why mobile really matters to un- and underbanked consumers. I think at CFSI and D2D believe that mobile financial services can have a real positive impact on the underbanked and offer new revenue streams and enhance consumer loyalty to providers that offer them. So underbanked consumers, this is data from a survey that was conducted by the Federal Reserve Board last year. Underbanked consumers are using their mobile phones and mobile financial services in greater numbers than the general population, the overall U.S. population. 91% of underbanked consumers have a mobile phone, and 57% of those have a smartphone. 29% of underbanked have used mobile banking versus 21% of all consumers at all. And then we're seeing, slightly lower but meaningful usage by unbanked versus underbanked. And we know that, smartphone prices are dropping, and there's a sort of an increase in prepaid mobile carriers. So, it may be obvious, but mobile phones are portable, ubiquitous, personalized, and multimodal, making them a really powerful tool that many un- and underbanked people are carrying around in their pocket, and we think that opportunity can be further leveraged to help consumers better manage their finances and gain additional access to high-quality products and services. So let me just pause and give a definition by what we mean by financial capabilities, where we're all on the same page. We at CFSI define financial capability as a set of consumer behaviors that lead to tangible improvements in consumers' financial health. So essentially being able to cover your monthly expenses with income, to be in the behavior of tracking your spending regularly, to plan ahead and save for the future, to effectively select and use and manage financial products, and to not just have financial knowledge, but to be able to exercise financial knowledge. So, we think about sort of the importance of financial literacy and that being really what you know, but I think what's most important is that consumers are financially capable, and that's measured really by what they do, and that they have the tools to build new, healthy financial behaviors. So, just some best practices to keep in mind as you're designing new tools to build financial capability. In 2009, CFSI did a landscape assessment where we looked at all kinds of different interventions that exist to help consumers better manage money, and we found that the following 4 sort of key elements of effectiveness. First, you should be designing to make the intervention relevant to a consumer's specific financial concerns and financial situation, and delivered in a context that is comfortable and familiar to them. Secondly, the solution should be timely, or the service should be timely, coinciding with important decision points in an individual's financial life. So that could be tax time, or when one gets married, or when they have their first child, or when they're getting ready to send a kid off to college. Those are moments that can be leveraged when consumers are thinking about their finances, as well as just in the course of conducting their day-to-day financial transactions. Thirdly, the resource should be actionable, meaning that there's a really tight coupling between, sort of pairing products and services with actionable information, or, if you're leading with education, making sure that there's an opportunity to put that knowledge into practice, and it's very closely linked. And finally, that the intervention is ongoing, that it's not just a one-point-in-time solution, but that you really think to provide ongoing support to help consumers reach longer-term goals. And again, just to stress the point that we think to really change financial behavior, that you need to link guidance and information closely with financial products. So, link access to products with the guidance on how to use them. There are many tweaks we can be making to financial products and redesigning them to where they're structured in ways that really promote consumer success, things like defaults and, automating certain transfers. At the same time, I think there's a lot of room for improvement on the guidance on the education side to design in a way that, to support and nudge consumers in making the right decisions. So getting back to bringing this back to mobile, when we think about the potential benefits of mobile financial services for the un- and underbanked, today, mobile financial services tools can really drive increased financial capability, drive that behavior change that we seek, and improve financial outcomes for underserved consumers. We also know that mobile financial services offer greater convenience. They can lead to improved security and fraud protection. And then I think as we look ahead into the future, as mobile financial services grow, they become more sophisticated. We think that these tools can really help transition customers from operating in a cash economy to starting to conduct electronic transactions. And then finally, we hope, can really be leveraged to improve access to basic financial accounts. So let me say a bit more about each one of those points. So toward the drive to increased financial capability, thinking about the elements of effectiveness, all of the mobile financial services, can really start to embody the elements of effectiveness. They're relevant, they're timely, they're actionable, and ongoing. They take many forms currently. We're seeing banking apps that provide, specific information about to banking and prepaid card customers to help them track and manage their account balance and transaction history. We're also seeing the increased numbers of personal financial management apps, PFMs, which are third-party apps that aggregate multiple accounts into sort of one view and support budget tracking, credit monitoring, and even paying down debt. There are increased numbers of solutions that involve account alerts, so real-time text messages or mobile alerts that are triggered when maybe a customer falls below a certain balance threshold. Balance inquiries to find out how much money you have in the account via text messages. Also just telling you, confirming how much money is remitted, or are you reaching your savings goal? There's a lot of additional messages and reminders that we're seeing that can be really beneficial. And then reminders about bills becoming due or ATM locations. So there's a lot of sort of timely access to information about one's financial life that we think can really help nudge the effective financial behavior that we seek. So a little bit more data from that Federal Reserve System Board of Governors study that I cited earlier. They ask, are the underbanked using mobile tools? So have you used your mobile phone and done any of the following over the past 12 months? We see that both the un- and underbanked are actually using the bank's mobile apps. They're checking their account balances. That seems to be the most frequent activity or behavior. In some cases, they are paying bills online. They're receiving the text alerts. They're transferring money that way. Sort of less frequently, depositing using remote deposit capture tools. And we're seeing that the underbanked are also more likely to use a mobile phone for transferring money between their own accounts, using both interbank and interbank mobile transfers at a greater frequency than all consumers. So that's a positive development, suggesting that the underbanked are really utilizing mobile financial services. And then if we think about the impact on behavior change, the Fed also asked, do text alerts, have you done any of these activities after receiving a text alert? So 58% said yes, they've transferred money into an account if they receive a low balance alert. 41% said, when they are notified about sort of their spending behaviors, they've reduced their spending. 16% so that they've deposited money instead of just transferring money into the account with the low balance, and only 16% said none of the above. Again, pretty obvious, but mobile phones are offering greater convenience to consumers, to enabling you to really conduct financial transactions with a tool that's in your pocket. We know that more than twice as many underbanked consumers are using mobile remote deposit capture, 16% versus 6% for all consumers, and then 16% among the underbanked have used the mobile for peer-to-peer, and 8% among all consumers. I'll quickly run through this, but really mobile can lead to benefits for increased security and fraud protection. So if there is fraudulent activity, they're able to be notified more quickly. And then we're seeing new apps that are really helping consumers make the transition from cash to electronic payments, especially in the small business arena with Square and all of the various wallet solutions that we're seeing, and increasingly more activity on the transit side for public transit riders, making the transit pass or card into an electronic payment system. And then finally, getting back to financial access, we're seeing many examples on the international front, including M-Pesa, which is a mobile phone-based money transfer and microfinancing service that's in Kenya and Tanzania. It truly represents the most developed mobile payment system in the developing world, that it allows consumers to withdraw, transfer, and deposit money easily with a mobile device. I think there's an outstanding question about sort of the new innovations in the U.S. that are linking prepaid and mobile cards, prepaid cards and mobile phones and mobile payments. Can that really help us promote financial access? So it's very early stage for a lot of those innovations, and I think the time is now, and there's much opportunity to think about new apps that can be developed to meet the financial needs of all of these households that are financially underserved and can be doing more and doing better to manage their financial lives. So I'll leave you with a question: what can you be doing to help underserved Americans increase their financial access and capability? We encourage you to apply today to FinCapDev. So with that, I will pass it back to Preeti, who can give you more specifics about the competition.
Great, thank you, Sarah. And thank you all again for joining the webinar today. As I said earlier, I'm with D2D Fund, and with CFSI, we are the administrators of this challenge, FinCapDev, which stands for Financial Capability Development. So what is FinCapDev? FinCapDev is a challenge to help develop new, fully functional, and market-ready mobile apps that will help working Americans make smart financial choices and get better access to financial services. Like we just heard Sarah talk about this and how there needs to be innovation in the space. So this is an opportunity for you all to put your great talents to use. We are in phase 1 of this competition, which launched on October 2nd, 2012. And in this qualifying phase, contestants will form teams and submit their app design proposals. And in a minute, I'll get into how you can do that. In phase 2, which starts in January, that's when you get to actually build the apps, which will go through, that phase goes through May 2013. We will select 10 to 20 finalist teams to receive access to some resources and support the development of these market-ready apps that I just talked about. So you might be thinking, so what do we get? Why should we compete? As I said earlier, this is a great opportunity to use your talent to build these apps and also have a social impact at the same time. We will be offering up to $10,000 in stipends for each finalist. In addition to that, we have a pool of $100,000, so another $100,000, including a $50,000 grand prize. In June, we will have a final event, a winners event, and provide all finalists an opportunity to present their apps to a high-profile panel of judges. Meanwhile, we have partners that will help provide exclusive mentorship, these partners being from the financial and technology industry and their employees during phase 2. We will have access, finalists will have access to a robust ecosystem, a network of investors, nonprofits, designers, developers, and several tools, APIs being among them, from some of the most innovative organizations in the world, and finally access to webinars like this one, and the two that are coming up are being offered by the U.S. Department of the Treasury. This one is entitled Using Open Data to Build Apps and Services, and a second one presented by MasterCard called Navigating the World of Open APIs. And at this presentation, MasterCard will also talk about their tools that they have available to offer applicants and finalists to develop their mobile apps. So I've mentioned MasterCard. We also have other partners that have signed on to offer these resources to finalists. The Dell Social Innovation Challenge is an organization that we have partnered with, and they are helping us promote the challenge through their networks. We had a webinar where some of you might have been on that was presented by Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and Facebook will also provide professional Facebook employees as mentors in phase 2. And H&R Block, Ideas 42, I already mentioned the webinar from MasterCard, and they'll be offering other services as well. Yodlee will be offering free licenses to use their APIs, and also Women Innovate Mobile is another organization that we've partnered with. And there's more to come. We are continuing to do that, continuing to recruit partners to help provide mentorship and other tools to our finalists. Some key dates coming up very quickly in about a month's time is the deadline for the applications, December 10th. We will make decisions after going through a judging period. We will make some decisions about finalists on January 14th. And as I mentioned earlier, the fully functional apps are due on May 1st, 2013, and the final event will be held in June. In addition to the $50,000 grand prize, we will also have 2 runners-up with $20,000 each in prizes, and 2 honorable mentions with additional $5,000 each in prizes. And now, how to enter, the most important question that you've all been waiting for. It's actually very easy. You see there a portion of the homepage of the FinCapDev.com website. Click on either the Compete button or the Apply button, and that will take you to a registration form, which is the first step. You will first be asked to register And there's a very simple form to complete, which I have a portion of a screenshot on the next slide. So it doesn't show you the whole form, but it's actually pretty small. So all you do is sign up, and once you register, you can then fill out the application form. Just want to focus you on one element of the registration slide, which is actually the slide before. Jessica, can you just go back that one slide? You'll see the question there, looking for possible teammates or collaborators. We have a link to our social media pages, and I'll show you that in a little bit more detail, where we encourage you to actually connect with other folks. So for example, if you have this great idea and you're looking for a team to help you develop it, we encourage you to explore our networks and see if you can find people that are complementary that you can form a team with. And the next slide is sort of shows you a portion of a screenshot of the next phase in the application process. So once you register, you can then apply, fill out this application form, which will let you complete, which allows you to complete all the portions of everything that you need to be able to submit an application, including uploading files. So we have a form, plus we have the option to upload files like screenshots and other wireframes, other documents that may have, to allow you to give as much information as you want to, for us to be able to evaluate the submission. Jessica, we can move on. Yeah. And sorry, Jessica, the next slide. You can also get to connect to folks through our networks by clicking on the connect slide. And again, like I said, if you have a great idea and you want to recruit other teammates that might have more technical knowledge, or if you are a technical person and you have a team of developers but you're looking for great ideas, you can do that as well. And that just shows you what you get when you click on the Connect page. So just to wrap up this piece about the overview, we have, as I mentioned, 2 other webinars coming up. The first one, which is actually next week, next Thursday, is using open data to build apps and services, presented by the U.S. Department of the Treasury. And that will be at 5 p.m. Eastern. So note that this one is at 6, the last one is at 6 p.m., but next week it's at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then on November 29th, Navigating the World of Open APIs, it will be presented by MasterCard, and that one is at 6 p.m. Eastern. So I want to remind you to, if you haven't submitted any questions, to submit questions to the through the question box in your webinar tool. And now I'm going to take you through some a bit more information that we provided in the overview in a Q&A format. But please feel free to submit your own questions in the question box. Okay, so the first question is, can I submit a functional app prototype in phase 1? In phase 1, we will not be able to evaluate prototypes, but anything you have, any other information relating to that prototype, which would be materials like pictures, videos, screenshots, wireframes, anything you think that will convince us of your app's potential would be very welcome through that apply page on the website that we just went through. We are not looking for executables or any runnable app files. If you do have a functioning app, you may submit other marketing materials or brochures that help explain it. Like I said, we do have the facility for you to upload as many files as you want. You can put them all in a zip file and upload it that way. Again, that facility exists on the apply page of FinCapDev.com. The next question has to do with the judging criteria. As you apply to the competition, you will see the on the application form itself the criteria that we will be using to evaluate your app submission. And you might ask, when we talk about the potential for sustainability for the app, what does that really mean? To be able to evaluate your app against that question, the two questions judges will be considering are, what is the potential for the app to attract users and to have a sustainable business model? We are looking to get a sense of how well you've thought through the market readiness of your app, what your business plan is to sustain your app in the marketplace. Who will judge my proposal? A team of judges from D2D and CFSI, which are the administrating organizations, will evaluate your proposals based on the 4 published criteria. Again, you can see them in the official rules and also on the application form. Then an independent technical feasibility judge will evaluate your proposal on more technical lines. Have you and your team made a convincing case that you have an understanding of and access to appropriate technical resources to build this app by May 1st? Then you might be thinking, what do you mean by a fully functional market-ready app? And you will see this in the rules, but the way we are defining it is one that has been designed and developed and thoroughly tested by the app development team, and it is ready to go to market, that is, in the context of this competition, hosted and made accessible via the Apple App Store and or Google Play, which is the Android market. Who owns my intellectual property? You own your intellectual property and maintain control of it and rights to it. And you have to make decisions about how much you want to share and with whom. We encourage everyone, though, to consult your own legal counsel about IP issues. Once again, I want to remind people that if they haven't submitted their questions, please continue. Please do so. Okay, my next question is, what is the Finalist Agreement? The Finalist Agreement is an agreement that will be made available on the FinCapDev site by early December for review, and is a legal document that every finalist must sign in January in order to proceed as an incubated team. What is the Grant Agreement? The Grant Agreement will be also made available on the FinCapDev site by early December for review, and is a legal document for every finalist who takes FinCapDev grant funds, the stipend that I talked about, to support the submission development. And each team that takes the stipend will have to sign this grant agreement. What is the Expert Consultant Agreement? This will be available on the FinCapDev website also by early December for review and is a legal document that every finalist who wants to take advantage of the consulting resources we offered. We mentioned the professionals from the organizations who partnered with us to offer these consulting resources. If you do take advantage of those resources, you must sign. This agreement enables administrators, that would be us at CFSI and D2D, to make introductions and share information with expert consultants who would want to work with you. Who is eligible to enter? The competition is open to individuals who are U.S. citizens or permanent residents of the United States and are at least 14 years old at the time of entry. In addition to individuals, teams comprising individuals, each of whom is at least 14 years old, and that each team has a team leader who is a U.S. citizen or permanent resident of the United States. So not all team members need to fulfill that requirement, but we need to have a team leader who does. And it's also open to corporations. And the rules define corporations a bit more. So I encourage you, for all these legal questions, in addition to what we've answered here, please consult the official rules, and in the case of IP, also consult your legal counsel. How will FinCapDev market my involvement if I become a finalist? FinCapDev will maintain close contacts with you throughout the building phase. Part of that may entail interviews via Skype, IM, phone, or video that chronicle your experience, your progress, etc. That content can be shared via the FinCapDev blog and related social channels. All right, next question. Will FinCapDev help market the app after the competition is over? Not through specific efforts. However, the FinCapDev team can provide you with references and steer you to app marketing resources. As a FinCapDev finalist and or winner, will I or my team have to do interviews with reporters, bloggers, producers, etc. The FinCapDev marketing and public relations team may encounter media opportunities that require the participation of finalists and or winners. While the finalist or winner can certainly decline to interview, it is recommended that they participate in publicity opportunities. On a case-by-case basis for specific opportunities, FinCapDev marketing and public relations staff will be available to provide further media relations guidance and support. Okay, so I'm going to now have my colleague, Nick Maynard, read out and answer questions that have been coming in. And thank you for those who submitted those questions, and keep the questions coming.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you, Sarah. We do encourage everyone to send those questions in. What we'll do during this part is take the questions that are coming in, take some time to generate responses, and try to do some real-time feedback. The first question is for our colleague, Sarah Gordon. Sarah, is there any demographic data for the underbanked?
There is a ton of demographic data for the underbanked, and I encourage everyone to check out the study I referenced, the 2011 FDIC Underbanked Household Survey. And then for some earlier, I mean, they also did this in 2009. It's all available online, so you can Google it. We'll also be sure that there is a link to that study in the FAQ that we'll put up after this webinar. CFSI also had our own underbanked study in 2008. I would say just general trends we see, demographic trends we see in that analysis are that un- and underbanked consumers are more likely to be non-Asian minorities, have lower incomes, are younger on average, and are typically unemployed. So no big surprises there, but there's definitely many different cuts on the demographics that are available through that FDIC report.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Another question has come in. Are for-profit companies allowed to take part? Absolutely. As Preeti mentioned, for-profit companies are encouraged to participate, and the application has a space to indicate that you are applying as an organization. Another question has just come in. Are there any physical meetings requirements for the competition? If you're selected as a finalist, you'll have to participate in status update calls. These meetings will take place via phone or virtually, but not in person. The one required in-person event will be the culminating final event discussed in the rules. This is an opportunity to present your app design to a panel of judges and guests in a public forum. This event will occur in June, and the competition will reimburse travel expenses for the event as outlined in the rules. Please keep those questions coming. Got another question that came in. What if you have a great app design that addresses the key aspects and has a sustainable business model, but have not been able to identify team members to work with for the development aspect? We encourage you to seek out team members through our social media assets by posting your request to the FinCapDev website, Facebook page, or using the Twitter hashtag #FinCapDevConnect. We'll flag your interest in joining or forming a team. Okay, keep those questions coming. We still have a little bit more time to answer questions. We'll take a brief pause here to collect more questions and to generate answers. Another question has come in. Is this webinar recorded and available for future reference? Yes, it is. It will be posted on the FinCapDev site as well as the CFSI website. Keep those questions coming. Another question has come in. Would you consider games? Absolutely. Keep those questions coming. We're working on answers now to 4 or 5 questions. Another question has come in. After the December 10th deadline of the first phase, can new team members join a team? Yes, as long as those team members meet the eligibility requirements as specified in the rules. However, the team leader cannot change. Another question has come in. When is the next webinar and what will be the topic? The next webinar will be entitled Using Open Data to Build Apps and Services. It'll be presented by the U.S. Department of the Treasury, and it will occur on November 15th, 2012 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep those questions coming. We're working on answers now to a few questions. A question has come in. What's the best way to find out if there's an app already out there for my idea? We recommend searching the App Store or Google Play to begin, and also there are a number of aggregator sites online. Another question has come in. Would local tech meetups be a good place to meet and interact with mobile developers? Yes, we encourage you to join tech meetups. For other ideas, we also have a recent blog post. You can check that out at FinCapDev.com/blog. Keep those questions coming. We have a couple more minutes to answer them.
Well, thank you all for submitting your questions and attending this webinar. If you do have additional questions, please contact us. You can reach us using the email address info@fincapdev.com, and we will answer your questions that way. And wanted to take this opportunity to encourage you all to register to apply if you haven't applied or are thinking about applying. As we mentioned, you can post on our social networks to try to find people to team up with. And please help us spread the word as well. This is, as we said, a great opportunity for you to make an impact in people's personal financial lives, and also use your amazing talents and that of your teammates to do that. We have 2 more webinars coming up. On November 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern, the U.S. Department of the Treasury will offer using open data to build apps and services. And MasterCard on November 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern will talk about navigating the world of open APIs and also discuss their toolkit. Thank you again for attending, and on behalf of CFSI and my colleagues at D2D and the rest of the FinCapDev team, we say thank you, and we hope to see you online and building apps and in our next webinars.